Welcome, family. It's Futures Night. We're here. Stock Baby, Aki P.
What's up, family?
And today we want to go over the market mindset and the mindset of a trader and the things that you need to master and really hone in on as a trader. So this is our Futures Night. Again, we're going to be focusing on the skills needed to be consistent and to become a successful trader. So again, this is where many of you have inboxed us on several topics and that's really concerning, and we wanted to cover these mindset and assist you all on the views of how you're viewing your trade, and then some of the main issues and main things that you need to now start to adopt if you haven't been thinking about to begin with. So this is going to follow up on our YouTube series. If you guys have suggestions, drop a comment in below, like, subscribe, and share the information, because you're sharing the mission and you're sharing the vision, baby. So no further ado, we're going to get right into it. So just to start, these are the skills needed to be a consistent, successful trader, right? Number one, discipline. Okay, so understand trading is easy. We make it hard. And it's the lack of discipline that creates that barrier from being a good trader and a bad trader, right? So not having that discipline to be at the market, to be attentive, right? To understand, where's your errors, where's your weakness, where's your strength, to be able to be aware and then implement at the same time. You need to have the discipline when you are aware of your edge appearing in the market, and then it's time to implement. When you fail to do so, now that goes from you trying to execute to procrastination, right? So this is where, to become consistent, right? It's gonna take it took some time for me to understand where I was going wrong, until it dawned on me, well, I had to get my discipline in check, right? So that was the first piece. Second is risk, right? And this is Aki's favorite topic to speak on.
So with the risk, a huge part of being a consistent, successful trader is really being able to identify your risk, right? How much are you willing to lose per trade? And then how much are you willing to lose after that? A lot of people, don't identify their risk. They get into a play and then they wonder, should I use a stop loss? Well, if you're asking yourself that question, then you haven't really identified your risk yet, right? If you're wondering if you need to use the stop loss, and even if you use one, are you really identifying the risk at the end of the day? Because you can go into a play and pay, $1 for it and set a stop loss at 80, and your risk is $20. But then you're going to be caught up if that play runs on you, because, you took your $20 loss and now the play's at $2-3. Versus if you really kind of identify your risk, like, okay, I'm willing to risk $100 and it goes to 80, you don't have that emotion and you don't start panicking like, okay, I need to sell. And then, it may run up or it may not, but that's kind of the randomness of the market that we can't need to, or we don't have to try and predict it all the time, which also comes to our next topic, the trading psychology.
In trading psychology, this randomness that you have to be able to be comfortable with. Everyone's trying to predict the algo, or everyone's trying to find the order block. Everyone is putting themselves in such a disadvantage by approaching the market saying and because of you adopted someone else's theory. You need to be in the right mindset and you need to understand the right trading psychology to be able to remain consistent and not just have, one result or just one good trade, right? So, and that also incorporates what Aki's saying, stop trying to predict the market, right? And this is key because now, once you relax and you start to let the market bring you the data and you start to interpret the data in such a way now that you can have insight, you will have more insight than eyesight, and you will now start to reap the rewards of your labor. Accept the market's randomness. You want to make sure you write that down.
No matter what your charts tell you, anything can happen. And that's the nature of it, right? If you go look at a yearly chart, go look at how many times the same patterns happen or reoccur over and over and over again. You know, each of those times, the outcomes aren't the same. There's no way it could be. Trading would be too easy if every single time those patterns appeared, you got the same outcome. It'd be way too easy.
Winning versus winning consistently. If you're trying to find yourself a winning trade, right, understand that requires no type of intelligence and no skill at all. You're trying to learn something new, not realizing what you're trying to do requires no intelligence at all. We went over this on the Freedom Train, right? When we spoke about evaluation and evaluating things, where we say, well, what separates us from an animal, right, is the ability for us to think and imagine, right? But when it comes to evaluation, you don't need any intelligence for that, right? So this is where understanding this in order, in other words, you're clicking a mouse, you're clicking a button, same thing like when you're going to an elevator, you're clicking up or down, right? Think about it. Even when the elevator doesn't come as fast as you think, you keep on pressing the button, right? Some people do go through that, but you're looking for a reason or not to have a reason or a good reason to put your mouse, your trackpad in, or use your phone to press sell or buy, right? Because you're buying and selling the market, whether it's futures, whether it's options, whether it's stock, right? Then immediately you're trying to find yourself a winning trade, right? And then you don't need intelligence. You can be in one of the biggest winning trades. What did it actually take you to do that? What skill did you explore to do? How many times you put on a random trade and actually won, right? It took you no experience. So, what actually is the difference between winning versus winning consistently? You see, and what's that big hurdle of winning consistently? You see, because obviously you know, it doesn't require the skill that you're trying to hammer in and they're trying to hammer into your mind. Obviously, there's something missing, right? And it's requiring you to learn the type of skill that just simply people aren't used to learning. And this is why we do things like the philo and the freedom train on Mondays, and the Friday 0 day to expiration, and even the futures night, to be able to give you guys more of the mental skills required to become a consistent trader, right? So is the feeling of one trade, that feeling of that winning feeling of taking that one trade. You see, most people assume because their technical method, their setup is giving them some type of indication to that trade that they're getting into, right? They think that their setup is producing a high percentage of winning. That does not equate to you being consistent. You see, understanding that, not taking into consideration that the proper execution of that setup requires you to have the proper mental skills, right? So, Aki, would this be any different if you was playing basketball?
Not at all. It's pretty much the same thing, Everything is just pretty much the mental aspect.
You know, the person that's practicing in the gym, right? And he's practicing on his free throws. When it's now time to get in the game, and let's say, he goes for the three and he gets fouled, and now he has to shoot that same free throw that he was practicing on, you know, how would that work now?
At the end of the day, right, it's all about having that mental foundation, which is kind of the difference between winning and winning consistently, right? Because you can click a button, press buy, and you can be in a winning trade, right? You could do that 5, 6 times in a row. And then you start getting into that feeling of, okay, you know, I feel like I'm winning consistently. It's easy to get the two confused, right? Because you could win 5, 6 times, but then what happens when that setup happens again, right? And then you start to lose money. That's kind of where the risk management starts to come in, right? Because there'll be times where that same setup will happen 10 times in a row and you'll hit 6 times, but then the 4 times, if you don't manage your money correctly, you could lose all of it.
Right.
And that's just where that clouded judgment comes in. Don't think that just because the last trade that you took, you saw this similar setup and you remember that feeling of, winning and making that money, and you want to feel it again. Don't let that be the reason that you're taking the next trade, or don't let it cloud your judgment.
What we do in the room, we like to break things down to the simplest form. And, you know, let's remove trading. Let's go in the gym with it. You're in the gym, you're practicing, you're shooting 20 and 30 and 40 free throws, and they're all going in, right? And those are your trades, that those 3 and 4, 5 clusters that may have just you won off of randomness. It's similar to you hitting your 50 shots in a row during practice, but now when you actually foul during the game, or when it's live, when it's needed, and now is your time to shoot, that hesitation is real, right? If the mental aspect of whatever skill it is, whether it's basketball or trading, if it's not there, if the mental capacity to do it, to execute properly without no errors is not there, under certain circumstances, without the appropriate mental skills, you know, you can hit some things. But when it comes to really executing flawlessly, some people would uh choke and not do what they're doing when they're practicing. right? So this goes into really understanding how to trade for a living, and, how to be more confident in that, and really understanding the main difference of winning versus winning consistently. Our setup, yeah, it can, you know, it really cannot give you consistent results. I don't care what setup you find, where you hunting, who you're learning from. No. You know why? Because the real way to trade for a living is to understand that we all can become susceptible to making kinds of mental errors regardless of your trade setup. So assuming that your technical setup is telling you what's going to happen on every trade is the very first newbie misconception that you all need to understand. You see, understanding the technicals is not designed to do that. You see, the technical setup and your patterns are designed to put the odds of success in your favor over a series of trades, but it may not seem like it on the surface. And that's where, the trading psychology of it all have some huge implications. And this is why we're saying similar patterns don't mean similar results. Okay, so what this means is here the outcome of let's say your charts, you see your setup being generated on a trade, right? If you accept that it's unique and random, you may have a whole different outcome. In other words, there's no way to know in advance what the outcome to any of your chart setups will be, or what the sequence of those losses or wins will be over this series of the trade. So this right here is something you may have to listen to over probably 3 or 4 times, 5 times before you really, really understand this, because the last thing you want to do is adopt the wrong plan and adopt someone else's formula that's not working for you and not producing any consistent results. So understanding, accepting the randomness protects from over trading. And that's the paradox of the market to produce consistent results. You see, so to wrap this up tonight, we want to be able to give you the key to understanding what your setup cannot do for you. This is what your setup cannot do for you, and you need to fully grasp this. So write this down. Number one, it's interesting to see how, as traders, we're so attached to the technicals because we're able to see it. But as you can see, as the world works, the most powerful things to life you really cannot see, right? And one of those things is the risk. Most people get so happy on one trade that they think they carry that happiness and euphoricness to the next trade. And now they think that the trade is riskless, that there is no risk, right? So no matter how good your technical setup is and how good you are at generating these setups where it's a winning trade, if you don't have the mental knowledge and capacity to understand the risk, this is where your setup is not going to help you. Turning those winners into consistent income requires the ability to do or not to do some things that your setup itself cannot help you with. One, write this down. You don't want to be casual with this type of information. You see, our setup cannot predefine the risk. Understand that your setup can't, it will never force you to predefine your risk. You may be trading and you have not even asked yourself, well, what am I risking? Have you asked yourself that? You know, our setup, it can't prevent us from moving our stop loss, right? Our setup can't force us to take the heat that end up turning into a bigger loss. Yeah, you know, that happens to everyone, right? You moving your stop loss, you know why? Because your setup hasn't, it can't help you define the risk. Your setup cannot help you with hesitation or getting in too late, right? Your setup cannot help you with fixing chasing the trade. Nor can your setup help you from from stopping you from jumping the gun when you're getting in too early. Your setup can't prevent you from starting a bad habit or stopping it either. And then most definitely, our setup cannot, absolutely cannot stop us from getting out of a winning trade too soon. Your setup cannot help you with leaving money on the table and how to deal with that. Nor can your setup prevent you from turning your winning trade into a losing trade without having to take any profits. And literally, all traders can relate to this. All real big money traders, small money traders, it doesn't even matter who you are. If you're trading, you can relate to this. And these are the trading errors. And these are the mental errors of thinking and a result of thinking the wrong way or assuming that by adopting someone else's methodology or someone else's technicals is going to tell us what's going to happen on the next trade. And you're carrying that mindset to the next trade and not understanding that your technicals are not designed and made to do that. So we wanted to provide this information for you all and give you guys, you know, the specific criteria that's needed to be consistent and remain consistent and understand, you know, the random distribution between the wins and losses over, you know, a series of trades. And understand, we want you all to go slow on this information, right? Because it's a very tough to grasp this concept, but once you do, and it's proven, this will unlock your trading. And this is what I call starting to think and trade in probabilities and understanding the difference between winning versus winning consistently and what your setup can't do for you. And these are the skills needed to be a consistent, successful trader. So if you found any value in this, and you know, if you guys want us to do more series on certain topics, please you know, just drop them below. But hope you enjoyed this as much as we enjoyed it sharing it with you all. And we want everyone to understand the difference between how to remain consistent. Understand that there's no guarantee in a trade, or no trade is bulletproof, right? Even success is not bulletproof. So this is why we want to be able to, remain nimble and have the right mindset. Get in the right mindset, and stop adopting the idea that some type of pattern, or these markets are moved by patterns, right? Because we're really trading a market that's controlled by companies and hedge funds, institutions, right? So we're really, our trade is uh based on whether or not the market movers are gonna buy into it or not, right? So understanding this, don't let your last trade affect your next, affect your next trade. And understand, like, this is gonna be the point where you start to realize the truth, okay? And make your decisions based on the truth and not someone's affirmations. You want to trade based on the truth, trade based on what you see and what you know, family. So until the next one, with you on the journey, take it away to the walkway. And remember, this is a journey, baby. So run it up, run it to the bank. And I hope you enjoyed it. We'll make sure we're live Monday and Friday on the Freedom Train. You know the deal. Don't be shy to show love. We accept all love. Tough love is still love. We love you, baby. And follow me at the stock, baby. No dots, no underscores, no zero, just the stock, baby.
And I'm Aki P. Hope you guys enjoyed, and just remember, accept the market randomness. Stop trying to predict the market all the time, and you'll start to see a huge change in the way you trade and your success. So I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget, drop a comment, like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Until the next one, y'all, remember, we got power in like 6 weeks, right? And we're like in the second week of August. We got the GDP, we got the trade balance, we got ISM, non-farm payrolls. We just got the CPI today. We're going to get, actually yesterday, we're going to get the PPI today, and then we're going to get university sentiment. So we're going to get more inflation expectations by Friday. So I hope you're ready, and it's going to be a beautiful week. So we're going to have fun. But ladies and gentlemen, this was your Futures Night. I hope you enjoyed it. Please pray for us. Please pray for your brother and sister. And again, your future self is looking at you right now. So don't F it up. Let's go, family. It's game time. We love y'all. Peace.